All right, testing, testing. Here we go. We're started. This is Brian Skull with episode number 3 of Classically Trained Nobody. I've made the long 5.5-hour voyage from Michigan to Rockford for a special weekend. But that means I'm hanging out with my cousin, Matt.
Hello.
From last time, with the whole cult thing.
Just a little thing.
Just a little thing. Today we're going to go in a different direction, and we're going to talk about RPGs and video games and all that geeky, fun, nerdy shit. Why are RPGs awesome? Just because they are. Well, we'll get into that later. But primarily Final Fantasy, and we are both Final Fantasy fanboys. Aficionados. Kind of.
Yeah.
But more importantly, it's such a big topic, so we thought we would talk about why our Final Fantasy experience and what that meant for us and how that played out with the other RPGs that we played. So I think we'll let you start first, Matt.
Sure.
What was your Final Fantasy experience like?
Well, I played RPGs before. We're going way back to like the 90s. We were youngins. We're talking Super Nintendo.
Back in the day.
We're talking Sega Genesis.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what I played before that I think like maybe a Legend of something, one of those games I may have picked up and just didn't get into. People say Legend of Zelda, not really an RPG. But
Yeah.
I had played, I think...
Action RPG, really?
Yeah, it's an action RPG, but not like a traditional.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing you play Final Fantasy III for the first time, which, for you kids, that's what it was called on the Super Nintendo. It is Final Fantasy VI.
It's actually 6.
Yeah, it's actually 6.
But we're going to say 3. We're going to be talking about 3.
I'm probably going to relapse to 6. So when Brian says 3, he means 6.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember watching you play first, and it was the first time I saw an RPG. I think. I don't know. I don't remember. But I didn't really play it until later. So I had gotten like Super Mario RPG under my belt, Chrono Trigger under my belt. But when I first played Final Fantasy VI, it was something different. The story from the beginning, when the credits are rolling, telling you the backstory, Magitech this and Magic Wars, and they show these 3 figures, these 3 mech armors walking in the snowy field.
Yeah.
And you're introduced to your main character. And on one hand, it's a girl, which you didn't really see at all. A female main character. Or at least the first character. And it was kind of crazy, because she's like, oh, I'm playing a girl. Oh, okay, that's weird.
Yeah. Yeah, I still watch the intro scene.
Yeah.
That is an iconic scene with... the way the Final Fantasy logo comes up and the epic music. It was very orchestral. It was very like an opera. It maintains that opera feel from the very beginning. You just don't, at least as a kid, didn't make that connection until you get to the opera scene.
Yeah.
But like the way that it opens and the music I still love that and walking through the snowstorm. But yeah, the mechs and the way it set the tone. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It wasn't obvious who the main character was it?
No. Well, I mean, most of the time, like when you're talking about games like that back then, the character they let you play as is the main character.
From the start,
and this was like, kind of, we can go into like the beauty of Final Fantasy VI, which I've recently pretty much played all the way through, so it's very fresh.
Excellent.
And not only, like, was the female character first, but you were bad guys. As soon as you entered that town, you realized, oh, you're here killing these people to get something.
And that's why it didn't, for me, it didn't feel like that maybe wasn't the first, like, the main character, or maybe there was something else to it.
Yeah. It could have been a prologue, it could have been a prequel and all that stuff. But, again, at the time we were kids, so a lot of these concepts were ingrained in us until we played games like this, at least for me. Like these themes and stuff like that
Story wise,
Story-wise, yeah.
Before getting into the minutia of 6, like what was the impact for you, like as a game, like when you played 6? 'Cause I had rented that game. I remember that
Yeah.
moment. I still remember that moment when I rented that game, and then we went over to your place, and I remember saying like, "Oh, I'm gonna buy this game." Like I
Yeah.
decided at your place, like
Mhm.
because we had played a couple save files, and just coming off of Chrono Trigger, it's like, what do you do after Chrono Trigger?
Yeah.
You know, like, and really, we should have had played 6 first.
Yeah.
So, but that's not how it worked. So, as a game, 6 was just this. I don't know, this whole world.
Yeah.
Six was a whole world.
It felt different, even though Chrono still had the typical old turn-based RPG style of overworld, and it felt big. 6 was different for some reason. It triggered so many things, from the music to the atmosphere to the story. I think all played a part of why it felt different. The battles felt visceral.
So, as far as the impact goes of the game, what some games just stop you in your tracks, right? And when Final Fantasy VI, when I first, you rent it and you get a feel for it, and then starting the game, when I bought, I'll never forget when I bought that game in the box, and saving forever, and it was so damn expensive.
Yeah.
Starting the game, and I was sucked into that world for like an entire summer.
Yeah.
It was like an entire summer. For me, that game was really important because it became like, that game was my only friend. It felt like my only friend for our summer, because it happened to be around the time when like my friend who lived behind me and like to the right,
Okay. I remember,
like, okay, it was a neighborhood friend. It was the closest neighborhood friend I had, and he moved away. And so he moved away, and I had Donkey Kong Country at the time. I remember playing Donkey Kong Country the day he moved away, and being like sort of in denial about it, like your best friend leaves, right?
Yeah.
And so like shortly after that, I'd gotten Final Fantasy VI, and like that was like, here's my friend replacement. So I start this game, and it's like, it's like a black hole,
Well, it's because the characters were so varied and like just involved. Even when you first met them, like the first moment Locke appears on screen,
Yeah.
it's just this like dashing rogue, called in to rescue Terra from the people that are chasing her, and they did these intro things. Whenever a new character popped up, the screen would go black, and there'd be a description of the character, like such and such thief or such and such king, and it kind of made you feel like, oh, this is a new character, and then you get to name them and you see their name, and it sucks you in.
It does, and Locke is my all-time favorite character in the series, and then there's Terra, but introducing him as a character was really fun. Really, what distinguishes the Final Fantasy VI game above why it holds up today still, I think, is a combination of a lot of things. With you have the good gameplay, good solid in-depth gameplay, fighting, battle system. So there's a lot of good depth with that. But in addition to that, what really makes the game stand alone, or as a classic, is the overall aesthetic and the feel of the entire world. And you have this medieval fantasy mixed with technology, sort of future sci-fi feel, which is really unique genre to sort of pin down, and they really pinned it down, and then they fine-tuned it with 7, and they took it past the medieval and into the modern, but still maintained that what is it, the the medieval feel to it with
Yeah, the fantasy,
swords
the high
and
fantasy.
you know. So they still maintain the fantasy aspect into 7, but with 6 it was that grittiness that I really loved, and the grittiness that carried into tactics and into 12, and with the similar feel. So, and with that came the sort of ruthlessness of the storyline. I think that wasn't always present in the other games. Like you have mass. I don't know. Is mass murder?
Oh, with the Doma Castle and the poisoning, yeah.
Like that doesn't happen really in 9.
No,
for instance.
No, I mean you see some stuff like taken out, but just with the villain Kefka in particular, he's vicious. He doesn't care about anything.
Yeah.
He's introduced as he looks like a jester, and he's introduced as this general doing the Empire's thing, but like he just does his own thing, which is just murder.
Yeah,
He
has his own agenda.
He has his own agenda, and that's not really revealed until like you get to the halfway point when the world splits.
Yeah.
But every scene you see Kefka in before that is just a psychopathic murderer.
Yeah.
Hunting you down.
Yeah, and as you progress through the game, you sort of learn how more and more the government and Kefka are warped. Because Kefka's warped, but at the same time, when you get into the end and you see like the way that they're manufacturing espers, and the whole factory, like there's a whole system that's set up that had nothing to do with Kefka. Like, that was that was what's his name?
Gestal.
Gestal. Yeah. And
that goes to the back plot.
Yeah.
Of this world of espers, which are the game's summons. And that's how you get your magic. And cracking into this other world, basically just like an invasion force.
Yeah.
And then harvesting these things.
Yeah.
To make the machines of their technological revolution.
Yeah. Yeah, and getting into the espers and the fighting system and the leveling system, and and why I think this connects to 7 too, because it's sort of the same sort of system in that like you're learning from something that you're equipping, and you get multiple aspects. You can continue to equip and learn from as many things as you find, right? And then you can use that to customize characters to have a wide variety of options, so tactics. So it gives you tactical advantage, and that gives an incredible amount of depth. And 6 and 7 were really unique in that kind of style of RPG.
Yeah. More so if you're a crazy gamer like I am, and you just grind so that everybody gets everything.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's I remember we were talking about it in text form, and I forgot what I said, but I think it's great. I think like 4 and 5 like harnessed the originals, like this fantasy role playing game.
Yeah.
Swords and sorcery and magic and castles and airships, and it was 6 that completely mastered it.
Yeah.
And started on the next path, to which 7 and begrudgingly 8. But from 7 on.
Yeah. And I feel like 6 was more user friendly. So I feel like 6 compared to 4 and 5. If you look at the difficulty.
Oh yeah.
And 4 felt like way harder of a game than even 5 was, and 5 felt harder than 6 was. 6 felt like it could be as hard in things that didn't matter as much.
Yeah.
But as far as how they refined the game and paced it out to difficulty level,
you didn't have to grind like an insane person.
Yeah. Which made it more a successful RPG, I feel like.
Yeah.
The prior Final Fantasies were far more for a specific kind of gamer. Really,
they weren't
narrow.
really popular. Like 7 launched it into the atmosphere.
Yeah.
But 6 was like really well done. It was the end of the Super Nintendo cycle, just abouts. And
it seems like an obvious thing to say, but you really don't get 7 without 6.
Yeah.
In how they handle multiple characters working multiple plot lines, and which again was present in the games prior, but it just the way that they worked it into the story and your gameplay was far more artfully done. And then again, going back to the battle system, it shared a lot.
With the exception of tactics, which doesn't count because you can recruit people infinitely.
Yeah.
6 had the most characters, with 14.
Yeah, 14 characters.
And like only 2 of them really didn't have character, but everyone else.
Did Mimic have a backstory?
No, you just found them.
Okay, so it's Mimic, and then who was the other one?
The Yeti.
Yeti. Yeah, there's such a minor amount of story. Like, what, you just gotta beat
You
him?
just beat him
right?
and get him, and Mog tells him to join the party. And he's just basically a berserk character.
Yeah.
So if you need a heavy hitter, you put him in your party, and he does whatever he wants to do.
Yeah.
And you give him there's a relic specifically for him to make him stronger or something, where he throws other characters
Yeah.
and does wicked damage.
I got all of it just to get it, but I
Yeah.
never used them,
Yeah, no.
really.
But yeah, every character, there's like a group of them that are part of the main story. That's like Tara, Locke, Edgar, Sabin, Cyan.
Yeah, Cyan has a really cool story.
They're all tied with the Empire storyline. Oh, Celeste.
Yeah, Celeste.
Celeste as well.
Yeah.
And then the rest of them, Setzer and Gao, Realm and Strago, are kind of just there as far as the main story goes.
Yeah.
But they have their own side stories, which are all relevant to the world as well.
Yeah. So, what I love from the art perspective on this, the general aesthetic of Final Fantasy VI was, again, really, really unique in, not only color, overall harmony. You get like this post-apocalyptic, dark medieval earth tones. So it's really gritty. But then what makes it most successful was conveying that feeling of like that sublime sort of feeling of desolation is with the music, and that's what really hit me, and why it was such a good game for me to play after Chrono Trigger was because it was just this overall feel of this big world, and the music was such an important role, and I'm a sucker for good music. If the game's got a good music, I will play it longer than I should, even if I don't want to, just so I can listen to the music. But here's what's weird, is that how many games that have an amazing soundtrack are really that bad?
Yeah.
So it usually goes hand in hand, because there was a lot of attention to detail paid to the music in Final Fantasy, and that has its height in the opera scene, which I still listen to. They've made orchestra versions of this opera scene, and I'll listen to it because it's epic. I love it.
Insane that they were able to do with the technology of the Super Nintendo cartridge.
Yeah.
To convey an opera scene and actually sound like it was an opera scene.
And they're just hitting the tones, like, oh.
Yeah, and she's the characters are singing without voice acting.
Da 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 da.
Yeah.
I love it. The whole thing, and you have to memorize. It's a interesting. It was a different side of an RPG, where you are actually role playing. You are memorizing these lines to get this play or this opera right, and if you fuck it up, you ruin the show, and you have to start again the next day.
Yeah.
And as opposed to you're done and the whole thing's ruined. It's like you screwed up those lines. Get it better next time, and you have to keep trying.
It was part of the plot to get Setzer.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it was such a crazy shift. Again, for like a little kid.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because, you're used to, kill bad guys, level up, these action moments, and then there's this weird character moment where you're in an opera house, and you're like, huh?
This is nothing I've ever played before.
This is nothing I've ever played before.
Yeah, how did this compare? Because, you think about before this, it was like Mega Man.
Yeah.
And you go from kill Dr. Wily to I'm gonna, Kafka's committing genocide.
Yeah, before,
you know,
yeah,
like
before RPGs, like
you didn't know what genocide was.
yeah, it was just random side scrollers.
Yeah.
Or fighting games or racing games. Yeah, and they'd have little like plot moments, but it's like okay, get to the level.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, in Final Fantasy VI, you were part of the story.
Yeah.
Especially before games like Skyrim, where you make your own character. Like it conveyed that with characters that already had history.
Yeah. Well, I think there are two very distinct kind of role-playing games now, and what made The Witcher 3 so successful, I think, in many ways.
Is that a game you played that you like? I'm not sure.
Oh yeah, oh man, I love Witcher 3. But like,
tell me about it. I don't know. I think I know that game.
Witcher 3 to Skyrim, right? They're both successful games for very different reasons. There will always be a need for a game like Witcher 3 because people don't want to have to create a character all the time.
Yeah.
They want to be placed into a role. And what made 6 so successful is that like they gave you so many interesting roles to jump to that it was really exciting to see what was going to happen next.
Yeah.
Not only were you sad that I'm no longer playing Terra anymore.
Yeah.
I miss it. I want to learn more. But now I'm Locke. Oh my god, it's an even cooler character. Now I'm Sabin. Oh my god, it's an even cooler
that's
character.
That's a good part we kind of skipped over was really early in the game, you're introduced to all these characters, and then you're split up. And it does this cool thing where it goes to a black screen.
Yeah.
And you're Mog, a character you've only briefly seen, and you see 3 groups. And it says, choose your scenario.
Yeah.
And you're like, the fuck is this? And you pick a group, and you play that part of the story. And then you finish that, and then you pick the next group.
Yeah.
So it's something that's like, what? Multiple story paths? What?
Yeah, compared to one main character or even in a normal...
Or like in Chrono Trigger, you never were a split party. Even after Chrono died. Spoilers.
Yeah. Yeah. You were never a split party. And you... and it kind of worked in that like the game in the game you had your own like your cliques of characters
that you liked,
your little circles of characters, not only that you liked but like were connected.
Yeah.
And that kind of influenced towards the end of the game how I formed my groups.
Yeah.
Because like there were you have this circle of family of, you have not Ninja,
Shadow.
Yeah, Shadow, what his daughter, I'm gonna fuck up all the names. Yeah.
Realm is his daughter.
Shadow Realm, Strago,
Yep.
And then who else was connected to that group? I can't remember.
Really anyone.
But so yeah, you'd have like little cliques of characters that were connected, and it was a fun way to sort of structure your groups after a while if you really wanted to continue that role-playing aspect of it.
Yeah, I remember a great moment of, oh shit, I picked the wrong party was when you first use the castle to go under the sand, and you pop up by that town, whose name I can't remember. But you go in there, and you're looking around all the houses, and you find one with a basement, and in the basement is a woman on a bed. And when you go down there, an old man comes up and goes, oh, lock your... Oh, never mind, it's not lock. And then or something like that, and you're like, oh shit, I need to go get Locke.
Yeah.
And like that's his backstory that you slowly learn about.
Yeah.
Something bad happened, and that was the woman he loved, and played the game.
Yeah, and for us it was like our Game of Thrones in a way. Characters could die. You had that shipwreck scene. Am I thinking about that right? Where you feed the fish to...
Yeah, no, that's after the World of Balance goes kaputs.
Yeah, so people are dying, and a lot of characters dying in a game as far as RPGs go, even not used to.
Yeah, that scene, you're Celeste, and you're taking care of Cid, and depending on what kind of fish you catch, you can live or die.
Yes.
And that's the first time, like, again, not to keep going back to the kid thing, but at the time there were no games like Mass Effect or any of these things that made you feel that you could just play.
Yeah. And this was even before those little pocket pet games where if you
Tamagotchi.
Tamagotchis, where if you neglected them, the character was like it was more in depth than that, where like, yeah, I remember like that was the first time where it's like, oh man,
Yeah.
I wanna save this guy.
And then he dies, and you're like, shit. Because
I
like
failed.
in the battles, you're like, oh, they're knocked out.
Yeah,
Use a Phoenix down to revive them, or it's game over. I'll relive my save. But no, if you let Sid die, and you don't like restart at that point, or like if you did like what I didn't do was I didn't go to the overworld and save.
yeah.
So for me to have redone that, I would have had to go to a previous save
So you're
before
stuck
that
with it.
island giant fight.
That's fun. That's fun in some ways. You know, you sort of feel like you're learning a life lesson,
Yeah.
a little mini life lesson. You know, because okay, so being impacted by characters, living and dying, and how that it always makes it feel worse in fantasy games because you have the magic element, and so you know when a character dies, there's always like. You know, there are more options in a fantasy world to bring a character back, and when a character permanently dies, I feel like the loss is that much bigger because of magic somehow.
Yeah.
Which is why, you know, when Eris died in 7, you know, that was a big deal because she was technically the main character. You know, and
The main love interest.
the main love interest, but
Well, the love interest and also the main female character, because
yeah,
of all the hints of how important she was
yeah.
tied to the main story of that game.
She was the key
Yeah.
character in that. And so she dies, and
Spoilers.
yeah, well, you know, if
No.
you don't know by now. But the impact of her dying as a character and was a big deal at the time in the gaming world because it was, again, this giant RPG that took the world by storm and just got massive sales and it continued the sort of post-apocalyptic feel in some ways
Yeah.
with the city blight and
Because, what was great about 7, and it makes me not want to restart it, because you felt like the whole game was going to be in Midgar.
yeah,
You didn't really know what to expect outside of it.
you get hints of this bigger world,
Yeah.
right? But they keep you in Midgar for
Quite a-
longer than an RPG normally keeps you in
The
a
first
starting
town,
city.
yeah.
Well, because it's just this city.
Yeah, it's like all that you need for the original plot. Shinra headquarters, fighting them, all this other stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, this is the main plot.
Yeah, people criticize it, but in the context of the entire game and how much time you end up spending everywhere else for the rest of the game, and just what makes for a good story, that build-up was needed because of all the flashback scenes and all
The revelations that happen later.
Exactly, all the revelations that happen later. I mean, you needed that strong build-up so that you felt attached to these characters, you know, because otherwise, that's the tough thing with games, and why when you get RPGs that are like Skyrim, for instance, it's so easy for them to make it to where like you have no reason to care about the character, and with RPGs where like you're just sort of suddenly thrust into a conflict, you know, without any real build-up. I have a hard time not caring. It's like all of a sudden I'm in a conflict, right? And like if I'm getting an RPG, it just depends on the way that they tell the story. But 9 times out of 10, it's like if I have no setup whatsoever for these characters, the conflicts are going to be shallow unless that conflict is defining the character for then later storytelling. So with the city, yeah, it moved slowly, but for the purposes of storytelling, I mean, they were really telling a story. There was just there's a lot of reading and a lot of like you're doing errand scenes or errand missions, which is just fetching and reading. So
It's hard to go back to that part when you already know all that stuff, but first time playing it sets, like you said, the tone so much that once you do get out, it feels so weird. It's like, oh, there's an overworld.
yeah,
What do I do?
yeah,
You know,
Yeah.
it's like head for this little town, but like that great moment of when you escape, and everyone's just kind of like, okay, what the fuck just happened,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
With all the Sephiroth thing nonsense going on, and it's somehow tied to Cloud, and it's just such a great story.
You know, I still think though that the music to 6 is better than 7. Like, even if
Yeah,
if you orchestrate them both and play them equally
I think 6
side by
wins.
side, I think 6 wins. But
7's music is more iconic.
it is.
Than no, I would say better.
Yeah, you got the sort of pipe organ feel
Yeah.
in 7. Maybe pipe organ is wrong, but like
Well, it was the first time, because it was a disc, they were able to use real instruments.
yeah,
So they went kind of ham on a lot of that stuff. Pianos,
yeah.
lots of pianos. Like the main battle theme is like 90% piano.
Yeah. Although the tracks that are good in 7 are really,
yeah.
really good, so it's hard to be like, oh man.
No, you don't want to choose.
You know, I mean, why choose? They're all good. Whatever. So everybody knows 7, though. That's the thing.
Yeah.
We could, talk 7 to death, and I think our
As dead as Zach, deep cut.
nothing.
He was the real
All right.
Cloud.
So both of us have similar taste in Final Fantasies because we get to 8 and there's a big shift in design and aesthetic with 8, and this is where the series starts to move even further away from that darker fantasy, and things are starting to get more polished. Like Apple shows up and starts, rounding edges and
Yeah.
making discs, and it's like, what the fuck are these discs thing? I don't know. I wasn't a fan of the aesthetic of 8, and I wasn't a fan of, I don't want to focus too much on 8, but like, it just was not a fun game for me, and
I'll say this about 8. I was really excited to play it, obviously,
yeah.
because there was that demo disc. What did that come with? Brave Fencer Musashi, I think?
Yes, that was a good demo disc.
That was a good game, Musashi, as well.
Yeah.
That's another RPG
Yeah.
that people may not have heard of, BS1 era.
I actually stopped playing 8 and played Musashi.
Yeah. But yeah, that demo for 8 was great because it was the city with the spider crab, and this is great because the reasons, like, if you go and look at 7, the graphics are fucking terrible.
They don't hide that.
They're
though.
blocky, they're edgy. The reason for that is because it was started on a Nintendo system.
Yeah.
They had a deal with Nintendo to make Final Fantasies. That fell through, and then they went to PlayStation. So they had all these, basically N64 before we knew there was going to be one,
Models.
in-game models.
Yeah.
And then they made fancy PS1, like, FMVs, and then the battle system. It was different.
Yeah.
So 8 was the first time out of the gate they could start completely from scratch.
Which is why 7 feels kind of like jumping between aesthetics.
Yeah.
There's just these weird shifting, there's weird moments, and it is kind of a fun contrast with like blocky characters, like with something really smooth and well rendered behind it. It made for a real interesting look and feel. But yeah, that wasn't there at all with 8.
No, 8 aesthetically, at least from the start, I liked. But like I said, 8 had a good, strong beginning, like I'd say first disc. Even the problems I had with the battle system, the first disc felt great. It was something, again, completely fresh. You started off at a school. There was no action piece in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
You see that opening cutscene with Squall and Cypher fighting
Yeah, which was a really good cutscene.
with great music. And then like the quick cuts of Final Fantasy 8,
Yeah.
And then you wake up and you're in a school hospital, and then you go to class, and then you're talking to all these characters about this exam, and you can go to your computer and look up stuff that you need to do for your test, and then you take a tour of the school with someone that you don't know is Selphie that you go get later. They introduced the first card game, so
Which was fun. Yeah.
It's this opening that was so different that kind of sucked you in. And then when you finally got to battles and you had the gunblade and you had to push the button to get the criticals.
Yeah, action.
And it looked great. All the enemies looked great. All the summons looked great. But then for me, it went downhill.
Same here. I gradually lost interest in the game the further out we got into it.
The
further I got into
story got so weird and like it felt like they were making two games and mushed them together.
Yeah.
So there was those weird flashbacks that when it happened for me, I didn't give a fuck about Laguna.
No.
I was like, what is this?
No. Yeah. Again, I lost interest in the story, and the game felt like a bait and switch because if you played the demo, and you remember the demo, that was not the game they gave us in the demo because the demo was it had completely different music.
Yeah.
It had enough of a difference in the gameplay as far as battle system and pacing and overall feel. And when you get the game, you're expecting that you're going to get probably something better than the demo. And I remember feeling kind of disappointed in the first few hours, but then getting caught up into the story. But then as the story diminishes for me...
The Sorceress was badass, man. Cypher switch sides, and you're like, okay, it's picking up.
Yeah.
Even though I got to draw 5,000 times to get a stock of magic. And watch a 20-minute fucking summon while there's a time limit ticking down.
Yeah. Yeah, so you got, it's just
gameplay aside.
Time game, yeah. So again, yeah, not the biggest fan of 8. It's not the worst game as far as RPGs go, but when you're coming off of 6 and then 7, to go right to 8 is just really just a tease, just kind of a letdown because it's carrying the name Final Fantasy. So 8 was kind of disappointing. 9 was sort of this attempt to go back to their roots. They ended up being really kiddie.
Yeah.
Some of the characters were really shallow. I don't think 9 is what the series needed.
No.
It didn't do them any good. And
it was kind of a weird end to PS1. Even though I'm on the side that really likes 9, I understand why people didn't.
Yeah. Yeah, well, again, it's not a bad game. It's not a bad game. It's just...
Yeah. As opposed to the reasons why 8 gets... Well, I don't know. I think it's the opposite with 8. A lot of people suck that game's dick. Like it's the best Final Fantasy of that era. And I don't understand it.
Yeah, well, that's just delusional.
Yeah, you know who you are if you ever listen to this. You know.
That's just delusional.
See you Saturday. You know who you are.
Yeah, you can't... You got to look at the Final Fantasy series if you're gonna start comparing them. But again, you can look at it that way, or you can look at just at how it stands as an RPG. And how it stands as an RPG is it's just a fun game to play. And I think there is extra weight to that name. Yeah. So, but it wasn't the game that they needed if they were looking for something like 7. So Squaresoft seems to like to put everything they have into every 3 or 4 games. Yeah. And so you get to 10 and 10.
Well, hold on. Before that, there was a huge gap between 9 and 10. Because 10 didn't come to the PS2 for like a long time. We could look up the dates, but
how long? Yeah, check that out.
But before that,
there was a lot of space. What happened in between 9 and 10?
They're probably just developing on a new hardware, and they didn't know. If you remember, the PS2, I think was really hard to work with. I think maybe at first, but before that, we skipped a beat because around the same time as 7, we got the Brilliance of Tactics, another whole side story.
Final Fantasy Tactics,
a game that they never.
Final Fantasy Tactics is... I can't believe I overlooked that. Even though,
same time frame as 7.
Yeah.
Before 8.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, so to ease the disappointment of 8 and 9, I played a lot of Tactics. I think Tactics is one of the better RPGs that Squaresoft has ever made. Ever had a hand in. I mean, the game as far as like gameplay wise,
completely different from what they normally did.
It's a tactical RPG, and what we had Tactics Ogre before that.
Ogre Battle first.
Ogre Battle, Tactics Ogre. Yeah. So I mean, there was obviously more tactical RPGs out there,
but PC and stuff. But we're console guys. So.
Yeah, and I was aware of the PC, some of the tactical RPGs for the PC. I was also a fan of with like Fallout. Fallout Tactics was just a fantastic tactical game. But there was Final Fantasy Tactics, and it was sort of like this big Shakespearean epic with these rival families and big government conspiracies and the War of the Lions. And it was another game that had it goes back to that gritty sort of medieval feel with the color scheme and that aesthetic, and the art design was just amazing. I remember oogling over those art books. It's the same thing with Final Fantasy VI and even 7. And actually, I love all of the Final Fantasy games when it comes to the concept art. You can't talk about Final Fantasy without talking about Yoshitaka Amano, who I'm just a huge fan of as an artist as a whole. I just love everything he touches. He's got such a unique style, and he brings so much color and the gestures of each characters, of all the concept work. He's thoughtfully considering, and so he gives the feel to these games, and when these games decide to embrace that, and Six did it with their portraits and some of their monster designs. He was playing such a much bigger role in designing all the monsters. And if you get the Art of Final Fantasy, it's a 3-book set of all of Yoshitaka Amano's concept designs. He had much more creative say, or they took from his designs much more earlier on. Yeah. But every time they decide to do it, like with Tactics, for instance, although now that I'm thinking about it, how much did he do for Tactics?
I'm not sure how much he did for Tactics, but
yeah,
the portraits I don't think were him.
The art feel of the art style, I guess, was just so well constructed, and the music, but then just the gameplay as far as the tactical element.
Out of my element completely when I first played it. It was so difficult for me.
Yeah, had you played a tactical game?
I don't think before that, no.
Yeah.
Yeah. It got me interested in them. So any game I played like that after was because of Tactics.
Yeah, because it broke down the turn-based to something even more strategic.
Yeah.
And, if you've never played a tactical RPG before, it's like, okay, this is kind of like turn-based, but it's also kind of like chess.
Yeah.
Far more so, and you're moving around this environment, kind of like you are in D&D, even more so, like with D&D, and being a PC gamer at the time too, you can't say good enough things about it all the way through. It's an extremely difficult game.
Yeah.
So,
actually, apparently,
what did you find?
Our memories are garbage because Final Fantasy IX came out July 7th, 2000, and this literally blew my mind when I looked it up. FF10 came out in North America December 17th, 2001.
It was a
year and change after.
It was just a year.
Year and a half. It's crazy. My brain does not register that.
No, that felt like a lot longer.
It felt like longer.
A lot longer, yeah.
Even more of a like, holy shit then.
Yeah.
That they were able to go from what they did with 9 to the first voice-acted Final Fantasy game. Which
10.
is still like $30 or $40 remastered, which is why I don't have it right now.
Yeah. 10 overall was... 10 was the first Final Fantasy game that made me cry.
Well, because you're a bitch, but I understand.
Yeah. Because people cried when Aerith died.
Well, I didn't. I was a Tifa guy, so I didn't give a shit.
Yeah. You're a boobs man.
Look, no, I'm a best friend man.
I'm a best friend.
You're gonna pick the girl you just met, or the girl that your dumbass blind eyes didn't see has been with you the whole time.
Yeah.
Especially later with the revelations, okay, marry this girl. She dealt with your crazy semi-clone ass motherfucker.
And compared to Tifa, Aerith is kind of I don't know.
Just the tangent real quick.
Just a dry cracker.
She's just a dry cracker. Tangent. She was only interested in Cloud because he was acting like Zack.
Oh, so he was just filling the Zack void.
Yeah, because
her. She didn't really love
She reminded him of Zack.
What a bitch.
I know. Fuck Aerith. So Final Fantasy X.
So Final Fantasy X was just this storm of new experiences out of a Final Fantasy game that you never had before. you get this Blitzball introduction.
Heavy
with
metal.
Heavy metal. You know, it's just rocking out, and you're like, what game is this? What kind of... Yeah, and...
Don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Orin is toasting something, and the world's going to end.
Yeah. And, I mean, the symbolism behind the story, this is where Corey would be really good, because he likes to analyze the symbolism of... And you know, you can do it to all the games, but, like, you know, with fighting sin and... You know how this, you know. Anyway, the point that made me cry is probably the point that made everybody cry at the end when you know you get that ending and he hugs her and then he's transparent, he goes right through her and then he dives down. You know, there was just a lot of touching moments with them as characters.
Yeah. Here's what, like, I remember listening or seeing a lot of articles and comments and like. I think, I don't remember where, but a lot of people kind of shit on the game for the main character. They thought...
Tight ass?
Yeah. And I think when I heard these criticisms of him, I'm like, did we play the same game? Because they said he was like this whiny little bitch, and he wasn't that cool of it, like main character, always complaining about his dad. But it's like, did you pay attention?
Yeah.
Like, his dad was a drunk piece of shit to him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And everybody claimed he was a hero because of his sports thing. And then he gets transported to this world where people are saying he's a legitimate hero. Right?
Yeah.
And on top of that, like, nobody tells him the real purpose of the journey. So he's going around like, yeah, we're on an adventure. We're going to get you to where you're going. Why is everybody else sad? Man, let's do this. Let's fight the bad guy. Fuck sin. Let's get him.
Yeah.
And it's like,
he's just this Labrador Retriever.
Yeah.
On his last trip to the vet.
Yeah, and nobody's like, oh yeah, this means Yuna's gonna die.
Yeah.
And he's just like, what?
And you're not real.
Yeah. And Sin is your dad. And you're a dream. You're an Esper dream. Shh.
You're fake. Shh. Go to sleep.
Go to sleep.
Go to sleep. And this sort of just all unfolds over the course of, you know, well, by the end it's like boom, 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 and you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And I don't know. I really felt bad for him. He was just this happy, stupid little puppy dog that was just helping everybody and really good at blitzball and he wasn't even real. So yeah, no.
Yeah. He was never a real boy.
He was never a real boy. The leveling system was addicting in that game.
Oh, the sphere grid was great.
You know, like, I lost so many hours of my life to the materia system, because of just how endlessly complicated it could get. But the leveling system in 10 was deceptively complex, especially after you've gone through it the first time around.
When you get the limiters off, yeah.
Yeah, when you take the limiters off is when it gets really interesting, because
everyone has their set role.
Yeah.
When you start the sphere grid. And, you know, you get ability points, and you can either unlock abilities or, like, your stat increases.
Yeah.
So, you know, Yuna gets all the white mage. Lulu gets all the black mage. Titus is, like, an attacker. Orin is, like, the knight class from FF Tactics.
Yes.
Where he does, like, armor breaks and strength breaks.
And the baddest motherfucker in the game. And why is everyone hairless? I just gotta rant about this. My biggest complaint is fucking Orin, right? Bad motherfucker has no armpit hair.
Kamari's not hairless.
He shaves his armpits.
He's a samurai.
Orin shaved his armpits.
He's a samurai.
Titus shaved his armpits.
Yeah. He's an athlete.
Waka.
I know you didn't like Waka.
I know.
They're athletes. They swim better. No hair.
Oh, that's true. But Orin?
Well, he's a zombie, so he doesn't... Maybe,
do zombies have armpit hair?
Maybe that hair falls out.
They're just all hairless Japanese people.
Yeah.
And like, anyway, that's the side rant.
Anyway, the sphere grid.
Grow some hair.
Once you unlock the limiters, you can take the people through everyone else's spheres.
Yes, and you can then choose.
Yeah. So, I had played the game and loved it, and then a couple years later, I had started it again and decided, I'm gonna fuck this game. So as soon
how did you fuck the game?
I'll tell you how I fucked the game. As soon as the Omega dungeon, the secret dungeon unlocked, I leveled the shit out of everyone.
Yeah.
And my best character was Riku. Because I took her through the boys.
Wow.
So that every time I mugged, it would kill everything. And take their money and take their items.
So it was just like mug death.
Yep.
Yeah. Because aside from that, like, Waka was the hardest hitting bastard.
Ooh. Okay, here's the trick for Waka kids.
I can't remember, like, who did you take him down after his main tree?
I always did the boys first.
Yeah.
Still, because they were strong. Because you need maybe Riku because you need that hit accuracy. But really, you didn't really need to level Waka up that much. Because if you ground the items for your weapons and you put Petrify on this ball with high accuracy, you'd hit a guy and they turn to stone and crash and die.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man, it makes me want to play 10 again, but I am too poor right now. It's on my list to buy the PS4, the FF10, FF2 remaster.
Yeah.
I think it's like $30. But...
And had we gotten Advent Children by that time?
No, that was much later.
That was much later. Okay, so this is the start of where...
Spirits Within came first. That was like probably 2000, 2001.
Yeah. But they really started pushing the bar graphically. And they had always done that sort of with the cutscenes. The cutscenes were really impressive, which is another reason why 7 stood out so well because of the...
Square had just an amazing talent to make beautiful FMVs with shit technology.
Yeah, they made it work, and they deserve a lot of credit for that because they had some of the best artists.
They made people try to be them.
Yeah.
There was like a slew of, I think, PS3 era RPGs that tried to be Square games.
Yeah, and they just couldn't match the design. I mean, for as much as I talk shit about the design in 8, I personally didn't like it, but everything was just thought about and
the music was good too in that game, and with the beautiful FMVs, I'll give them that.
Yeah, so that's what made 10 stand out was the vibrant colors, these warm peach tones, and that really made the game stand out. You know, I remember when I think back of the game and I remember the colors sometimes too. You know, like with the clouds. You know, because you're fighting Sin, right? And it's like these epic clouds and so it's,
that scene when he attacks the first boat you're on, it's like, holy shit.
Yeah, gorgeous. The summoning scene. They just pushed the bar graphically too as far as they could with the game. I remember being really happy with 10, but I don't know. As far as 10 stood out.
That was really the peak of like the best.
Yeah. After that, what's life like after 10?
Their first attempt at an MMO with 11.
Yeah, which I played 11 briefly. Not briefly. I maxed out one character in Monk, the Monk class. I played through, and I got to the point where it was going to start to get ridiculous. Like, I'm not big on like big groups as far as MMOs. When I play MMOs, I usually play MMOs with like just select few people, and once it plays out, and I drop it, or else you never play anything ever again. So I played through the Monk, and the game just felt so restrictive. Like you couldn't. Small things like jumping, like you couldn't do, and it really tied you down, and it felt very linear, even though it was supposed to be this big open world. So it wasn't what it could be, and I just felt like 11 was just meh.
I'm not an MMO guy at all, so but yeah, and then 13? 13's kind of divisive too.
Lightning?
Oh no, I'm sorry, 12 next.
12.
What am I talking about? 12.
Yeah. This is where I fall off of Final Fantasy. I was really disappointed, because you get some time after 11, and then 12 comes out. Personally, I didn't like it at all. I just didn't care about the game. And then you had other games in between. You had 10-2, and that took up time. And I guess it was a fun game. Although I was living with my roommate at the time, Matt. He played 10-2, and he says it was fun. and I believe him. But it was the most annoying shit to listen to
Because of
I've
the changes,
ever
the dress spheres.
ever heard. And I'm like, fuck that game. Fuck 10-2.
So-
If you gotta listen to the same thing over and
Yeah.
over, I can hear it in my head right now.
Here's-
It's just ah.
Here's the thing I'll give both 10-2 and 13. I really loved the gameplay. 13 was the first game I played that had like PC style, like artificial intelligence with the gambits. That you learned their shit and then you created like your own algorithm for each character.
Mm-hmm.
So they would just do the shit you wanted them to do as you ran around.
It had an MMO feel
Yeah.
to it,
And
though.
I really love that. And for some reason, like aesthetically, seeing like the targeting beams go out
Yeah.
and come back, like visually, that just felt great to me. It's just like, especially late game, when you're so fucking overpowered, and as soon as you get into combat, everyone takes their shit out and casts all their buffs and just murders things.
Yeah. Okay.
But storyline, yeah, the game fell apart like a motherfucker at the end, which is unfortunate because there was a lot of good stuff that they led up to.
Yeah. And again, it doesn't say anything for the art and the music and everything else in the game. Where I stopped caring was with the story and the characters,
Yeah.
and so that's why I ended up not playing it.
Yeah.
I just didn't care anymore, and I felt like playing other things. So, when I lose interest like that, when the story starts falling apart and I lose interest, it's hard to get back into it. And Final Fantasy is really good for, if they're going to let you down, they're going to let you down at the end.
Yeah. Yeah.
They'll make you're going to get your money's worth in gameplay, because you're going to get to the end, and then you're going to get to the end, and it's going to be like, oh, God, I don't care. So, I don't know. It picks back up for me with this last Final Fantasy.
Yeah, 13, I don't think we should really talk about much. It had 3 fucking games. They shouldn't have been Final Fantasies.
No.
For some reason, however long period of time they lasted for that trilogy, someone at that company had a boner for Lightning
Yeah.
and thought she was the best fucking character, and this was the best fucking storyline with their falsies and their foos and this overly complicated, mouth-wordy fucking stupid shit that
Yeah.
was terrible.
And caricatures. I felt like I wasn't dealing with characters. I was dealing with caricatures.
Yeah.
And it was. It's gonna sound so bad. It was when we what was the black guy? The afro
With
the dude with the afro
with the chocobo
with the chocobo in it. Yeah.
I don't remember his name.
I don't remember his name either, but when I got to his storyline, I just remember thinking, "Fuck this game."
Yeah, it was so-
because it was so terrible.
It was like if it tried to be heartwarming, like this guy who was trying to take after his son,
yeah,
but it's like,
it was campy.
why is he a main character?
Yeah,
Like,
nothing about him.
He's not he was just a dude.
Yeah, he was just a dude. It just he would have been a really cool side character.
Should have been Sid. He should have been a Sid.
Yeah. He felt like a side character, and you're putting all this time into this guy, and I just didn't care, and it was not only did I not care, but it was stupid.
Here was 13 explained to me by people that actually liked it. Oh, the game opens up at the end. So it's basically you walk through this hallway for 90% of the game, and then you get your open world. No.
Yeah, and as soon as I got to the point where I had to start grinding,
Yeah.
I dropped it.
And I will say this: the games do get better. Like 13.2 is better, does story better, and has better gameplay. I just didn't care.
Yeah,
Because they tried to do this time travel shit, which I was like, oh, that could be cool. It could be like a Chrono Trigger-esque.
yeah.
Because they dropped all the other characters and you play as Lightning Sister, who I can't remember, and this fucking time traveler guy. And they do some weird Kingdom Hearts bullshit because he looks like he's from Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
So the gameplay gets an A+, well, I'd say a B+ for me. Never finished it. And the same with the third one, Lightning Returns. I played the demo, and I'm like, man, I really like this gameplay. I'm probably going to buy this game.
Yeah.
And I didn't think I was going to like it because it was like basically Majora's Mask. with the time loops.
And I can't stand
But
that
for
shit.
some reason, it was playable for me, and I played it strictly for the job system.
Okay.
But I don't. Yeah,
And whenever they're
not good.
and whenever they go heavy on the sci-fi side of it, everything just feels so clean and polished and perfect, and
They're trying to be Star Ocean when they do that.
yeah, and I don't like that aesthetic. It doesn't fit with where all the other successful Final Fantasies have gone, and this includes 15. Because yes, you get nice shiny cities, but then you get this world of ruin at the same time, and everything falls apart. And so there's a touch of that, and where that game is so epic because it does a lot of things right, with the gameplay and again all the elements that made 6 good, that made
I'm talking about 15 now.
15.
Yeah.
Yeah, that made 6 good because they borrow heavy from 6.
Oh, they borrow so much from 6.
Yeah,
It's
and
crazy.
it was so great to see.
So, have you seen the movie? The prequel movie?
Oh yeah, I've seen
So-
I've watched all the 15 content there is.
I haven't watched the anime, but the movie
That's free on YouTube.
with Nyx, they have a goddamn recurring enemy from 6 as a villain. The octopus.
Yes,
The
yes.
purple octopus is Ultros.
I cheered when Ultros came
Yeah,
on the
and all of a
screen.
sudden you're like,
Yeah.
it's Ultros! He's got this goofy, toothy grin, and I'm like, this is a little out of place, but it's awesome.
Yeah, I don't care. Yeah,
And then in the game itself, all the fucking tools are fucking Edgar's tools.
yes,
And it's amazing.
yeah. So there's there's heavy homage to 6 or reference to 6, and that just felt right.
Yeah.
And where I guess in briefly summing up 15 for me, SquareSoft really captured
Square Enix now.
Square Enix.
Merch.
15 is successful because Square Enix made you feel close to a group of friends who were going on a really special mission, and you didn't need a lot of characters. The whole game was about brotherhood and bond and a loyalty.
But where are the women? It's so sexist because you don't play as women.
Well, it's worth pointing out though because of how big of a game it is, and all the other Final Fantasy games have had just a really diverse,
Robust roster.
and all of a sudden it just shrinks down.
Yep.
So I can see why people were upset about that, but they make up for it with just giving you so much about all of these characters.
Yeah, it wasn't about the world, like a world cast. It was about 4 dudes.
Yeah.
A prince and his friends.
Growing up together
Yeah.
and making a lot of difficult decisions together, and then
Fighting,
getting
into arguments.
and having fun along the way, and so you kind of share in that, and I don't know, I don't see why someone would feel left out, why a girl might feel left out playing that game. I feel like anybody could play that game and feel that sort of bond.
I'll tell you
know?
I'll tell you this without going down a rabbit hole. All the women gamers that I personally know love the game.
Okay.
That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, same here.
And they're real
Same here.
gamers.
Yeah.
RPGers, like most of the women gamers I know are heavy into RPGs, so that says all you need to know right there.
Yeah. So that feeling of brotherhood is sort of just kind of like
it's
shared.
it's
no
universal.
matter who plays it.
It doesn't matter. Yeah.
And you get that sense of unity and through the story, and they do a really good job in showing you the tension and getting you to feel both sides of the conflict, like with Noctis and Gladiolus. I had a really hard time. I was really sympathetic with both of these characters.
Yeah.
And most of the time when you get a conflict like that,
You're one-sided usually.
it's easy to be one-sided, but if you really thought about both sides, Gladiolus is trying to keep morale going. He's also making sure that Noctis doesn't fall off into the deep end, with the weight of his responsibilities.
While also
So-
making him take responsibility.
Yeah. So he's in a
That's
really
his
delicate position. Yeah. So he's got to ride this guy because there's that military aspect, and part of the military aspect is motivation. So he's keeping a motivation. What people don't understand about Gladiolus and why they're mad at Gladiolus by the end of the game is they don't get that, like, from the military perspective, keeping him angry is better than letting him become hopeless.
Yeah.
And so his point,
especially after what happens, which kicks off the story, is like, okay, shit, you're it now.
yeah. So he keeps him. So instead of being hopeless, he keeps him angry, of course, and then that backfires and causes the conflict. But why the game is so good is because people are like, well, I don't like Gladiolus, and it's like, well, you're not supposed to like him.
Yeah, no.
You know,
Yeah.
like he's the guy who kicks you in the nuts and wakes you, gets you to your senses.
Yeah, I love Gladio.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. But they were all very unique, and there was a lot of depth to it. And where people complain about it is, I think they just wanted more depth with some of the extra characters.
Yeah, I think it felt like, I wouldn't say it fell short, but there was some threads that they left. You know, the old modern DLC kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, I'm not the developer, so I don't know how much they developed into it, but yeah, I could see why people would want a little bit more or think there wasn't there, because a lot of the stuff in the end game just kind of happens real quick.
Yeah.
But I didn't really.
It has to.
It didn't
it
really,
has to, though.
It didn't really bother me because the stuff that happens with Ignis was, talk about not that I'm a crying little bitch like you are.
Did you cry?
Jokes that actually really moved me. What happened to Ignis?
Yeah.
And then again with
and touching on that more, I've never played an RPG before where one of the main characters becomes disabled and then you have to deal with it.
Yeah, he's still in the party.
And he's still there. And that was a very unique experience because you want to rush ahead.
Going through that Marlboro dungeon.
Yeah.
And you're rushing ahead and yo, Iggy, come on, stop.
Yeah.
Oh, so good.
Such a great moment in Final Fantasy. You want to rush ahead, but then you feel bad because your friend's disabled and he's hobbling, and then Gladio is mad at you. And maybe if you didn't rush ahead and you walked the whole time, you might not have known that, but I was getting impatient.
Yeah, no, it made you feel like Noctis ugh.
And then guilty for being why can't you just walk faster, you piece of shit? It's
just, oh, yeah, he's blind.
Yeah, he's blind. I'm a bad person.
I'm a bad person. And I think the character that got, I think, the less was Prompto, because his stuff only really happened at the end.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you're like, oh, I want more of that. And then the game's over. You're like, probably in his episode.
Probably, but at the same time, this was borderline annoying in the game, but I think they did it right. He really unified the whole party, and so
he was the everyday. Yeah, he was. Yeah.
He unified the party. It was him making you stop the car to take the picture.
Take pictures.
No one, it was him sort of going out of his way to bring the group together, and then you had photographic evidence of it. And at first it was fine, I'll fucking stop. And then you get a good picture out of it. And
then at the end, when it's pick a picture, and you're like, oh.
And that's all him.
And you go through,
So his depth sort of transcends the whole game to the very end, and you have this last picture to look at, and it's all because of him as a character, and then knowing his backstory.
Yeah. What kind of picture did you pick?
It was one.
Was it just the boys?
It was everybody together. It was the one where it was everybody. I'm trying to think.
Yeah, I think maybe the same one. When they move out of the ship, out of the lighthouse.
Yeah, they're all together.
Against all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my picture.
Because it was that was the one to pick. It was everybody.
Those side characters, again, it's very brief, but it was really cool to see them all together.
So, the game had a really, really touching ending. But okay, I gotta say this because I haven't heard anybody else say it. But I keep bringing up Skyrim, but look up the Skyrim main theme.
Yeah.
theme song,
The Leviathan fight.
and then look up the Leviathan.
It's the same fucking song.
fight.
I swear to God.
Play those songs back to back. Play the Skyrim song first, and then play the Leviathan fight song second. And it is Leviathan Skyrim.
Yeah.
It's Final Fantasy Skyrim. I
As soon
love
as I
that
heard
scene.
it-
Oh my god.
As soon as I heard it, I'm like, this fucking
Where-
Skyrim.
Where are the Vikings? Where are the dragons? Where are the other dragons? Yeah, where... the Dragonborn. No, wrong game.
Wrong game.
Yeah, so maybe that was intentional. I haven't looked that up.
No.
You know, I mean, it had to be.
Yeah.
Somebody, I mean, like, whoever wrote that piece was like, I love Skyrim. This is going to be my Skyrim piece, you know?
So yeah, and I've said this before, and I don't know if it's going to happen, and I hope it does, but Aranea and Biggs and Wedge need their own spin-off episode or game. Because
They need their own DLC.
Because like she was badass.
Yeah.
She was a cool guest character.
She's the most requested character of, like, wanting more from.
Yeah.
And
Because she's awesome, and she's got Biggs and Wedge behind her.
Yeah.
Which makes her even better.
yeah, and they can do it. They could do an entire game of them in the world of Ruin,
Yeah.
surviving for the 10 years that.
Yeah.
You know, that could be a whole game.
That'd be amazing.
That should be.
So
Just do it, Square. Do
Yeah.
it. Do it.
we don't need Final Fantasy 13-4.
No. I would take that over a Final Fantasy VII remake. I don't care
Yeah,
how...
that's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
They've been making that for years.
Yeah.
I
I know.
personally think the remake looks really good.
It looks
has
good. It
a
looks...
lot of good potential,
But...
especially to maybe recut some stuff and make the story a little more streamlined than they were able to do.
They're not going to do that. Oh, maybe they will if we ever get it. But of all the things to put your energies into, I'm always going to choose something
new over remake.
something
yeah.
new over a remake.
You want to talk about fan demand? An FF7 remake has been on the top of most fans forever.
Yeah, and it's not like they haven't done it with 6 and just re-releasing.
Yeah, and this
Final
is
Fantasy games.
this is not just
Yeah.
a re-release.
Yeah.
This is from the ground up redo.
Yeah.
Which
Oh yeah,
is
or a
cool.
complete rebuild. Like
Yeah.
it's all those environments have to be.
Yeah, it's completely new.
Yeah, which is a lot of work, and you're trying to capture the essence of a game in a completely new engine.
The combat looks like 15
It's very difficult
because
to do.
because 15 was always when they first announced it as versus 13 10 fucking years ago.
Mm-hmm.
They said that the combat was going to be like Advent Children,
Okay.
which
yeah,
kind of hit their goal.
yeah,
And well, perfect engine to use then a new FF7 is an engine based on an FF7 movie.
oh yeah.
So I think the gameplay is going to be killer.
Here's hoping.
Yeah.
Here's hoping.
Square Enix, if they lied about never having plans to do that, they're full of shit. Because that PS3 release conference, they made video of the Final Fantasy VII intro. And they're like, this is just a tech demo for the graphics of the PS3. You're not going to pick one of the most fan requested remake games
For
to show test demo footage.
yeah.
No, bullshit.
we were just playing around.
They milked that shit.
Yeah, of course.
They had the fanboys by the testes.
Yeah. Oh well, and 15 was their Hail Mary. If 15 had bombed, I don't
Yeah.
think we wouldn't have Square Enix.
10 years in development hell.
Yeah.
That game, the fact that it even turned out decent would have been a milestone, but the fact that it turned out really good.
Well, the fact, it should be said, the fact that any game turns out good
Yeah.
is a fucking miracle. The fact that a game that
That much money and
Complicated.
time
is
should all be train wrecks.
impressive, but that was they were hitting everybody on all fronts as far as the marketing goes for that game. It was everywhere. Like,
Oh yeah, they had
So-
sponsor deals. There was stuff in the game that was real, like the coffee was real.
yeah.
The brand
Yeah.
of coffee, I think, or something.
So
And the cars.
the cars for sure. So what life after 15? Who knows?
Yeah. They haven't announced
No.
shit,
So
so who knows what they have in the
it's gonna be a while because everyone's gonna want 17 or everyone's gonna want 7. Everyone's gonna be still playing the MMO, which
14,
is
yeah.
14.
Apparently
is
doing really well.
doing really well.
If you like
so-
that kind of thing.
Sure. If it wasn't, they need to drop the monthly fee, please. Just drop it. Just it's stupid. Like I don't. They're giving the game away practically. They're practically giving it to people.
Yeah.
But then you got the monthly fee, and what after 3 months, it's like. And I guess realistically, if you figure like, if you were to set a time limit to be like, I'm going to play this game for 3 months, like, then you're not really blowing your money. But if you're playing it, for a year, like I played Elder Scrolls Online for more than a year, on and off, and for the amount of money, if I had paid a monthly subscription, it's like you're buying the game like over and over and over again over the course of a year. It's not worth it. So anyway, they're still doing well, but
I think Final Fantasy is going to be off the radar for a while because the next big thing from them is probably going to be Kingdom Hearts 3,
yeah,
which is another game that's been in development forever.
yeah, Kingdom Hearts 3.
I'm a closet fan. I'm looking forward to 3. I'm tired of the spin-offs and the side ones. God damn it!
Yeah,
Just give me the third story.
I just can't get down with it. It just seemed
I'm telling you,
overrated.
they teased a Keyblade War at the end of 2, and that's all I wanted to fucking see.
Dude, I hear you talking. All I hear are Mickey Mouse and Donald.
Hey,
Duck.
look, you
Like,
need to take away.
Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck.
Yeah,
That's
you gotta
all I hear you saying.
Take your high horse that you're on because you can't get down with some Disney. All right, you can't do some rhythm mini games under the sea. Okay, take it away. Nobody cares. It's a fun game.
Raise your hand if you want the Little Mermaid theme stuck in your fucking head. No one. No. Under the Sea, kiss my ass. I don't want to play that game.
Yeah, but think now. Fucking Disney owns Marvel and Star Wars.
Yeah.
So
So that's also Beauty and the Beast
if they're smart,
happened in the same universe.
well, it's not the same universe. It's a multiverse.
It could be.
So imagine playing Kingdom Hearts 3 and not just jumping into fucking Disney, but hanging out with Spider-Man. And then going and blowing up that story.
No.
With also saying
this is
Skull and Cloud.
This is like saying
Hanging out.
all of your relatives should meet and hang out together. Is that a good idea?
Our relatives aren't as cool as these
No,
properties
this
that we
is
like.
just no. This is like anyone's relatives. Just let's mush them all together and everything will be fine. I don't agree with that.
Google what Cloud looked like in the Kingdom Hearts 1, and it's the best design he's ever had.
Okay, all right,
Because they like, mixed him with Vincent, and he looked like a fucking badass demon.
nice. Well,
Kingdom Hearts 3. Kingdom Hearts.
I guess if you wanna, if you're feeling nostalgia for your teenage years, get some Kingdom Hearts.
That's all this podcast has been. I just said I just replayed Final Fantasy 6 again. I don't understand why I'm being salty right now.
No, because video game. No,
man.
I'm not down
You
with
better
it.
cast some fire.
I'm not down
I need you to
with
cast
it.
fire, Goofy.
Fucking Goofy. We're always dead because of you, Donald. Anyway, all right, we gotta wrap this shit up.
Salt.
That's a brief sort of vomiting about Final Fantasy. What the game's meant to us, it was when it's good, it's monumentally good. It's life-changing good. when they do a good story, it's just you can't look away. And otherwise, it's meh. But that's Final Fantasy. All right, thank you for listening. I'll be chatting at you later.